You can't be so toxic and expect people to just willingly embrace you. Like, that just isn't how it works in any movement. You just slammed the door repeatedly on her face. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Sam. Well. Here we are, back again so soon to talk about music and fat acceptance. And how funny is it that 2 or 3 weeks ago that I was talking about them gatekeeping a song called Fat Funny Friend, where they were so angry because how dare thin people use a song that was describing their experiences. Thin people couldn't possibly understand what it was like to be overweight, so therefore they shouldn't use the song. They were outraged.
Y'all will never understand what it's like to grow up fat.
And here we are, flip of a coin. They are so angry because Taylor Swift had the audacity to talk about her own internal struggles with eating disorders and possibly body dysmorphia. And she went as far as to share that in her music video for her new song, Antihero.
And the reason this upset me was because I identified with the song. I stayed up. I listened to the album. And the 3 a.m. version. I watched the video. I was coming at this from a perspective of someone who likes Taylor.
And first, I just want to get this out of the way. What up, fat acceptance? This song isn't for you. You can't possibly understand what it's like to be a thin person with body dysmorphia. This song, this music video, not for you. So you can't use it, you can't talk about it. I mean, you've been fat your whole life. How could you know what it's like to be thin and step on the scale and think that it's saying fat? You can't. So therefore, you can't be angry about this. This song is not for you. Yeah, how do you like it? How do you like it? Like, I had to get that out of the way because honestly, it's a flip of the script from last time. Now they're angry about a song that wasn't meant for them. A scene in a music video that wasn't meant for them. In the words of Splotchmaker, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and stop with your shenanigans on TikTok and Twitter. It's not for you. Sorry, I just had to get that out of the way to again highlight how ridiculous it is to gatekeep a song and art, which honestly, this is twice now that Fat Acceptance has told us that they do not understand art. And I'll say right up front that as a fat person who watched this music video along with everyone else for the first time, I wasn't offended by this scene because I understood that the music video and the song title is Taylor talking about herself being an anti-hero. This is a deep dive into her psyche, and some of the parts of your psyche are dark, and I think that's what she's admitting. She has the ghost imagery, even though they're funny because they're wearing sheets. She has multiple versions of herself, including one that appears to be like her internal critic and like the worst part of her, taking shots and sort of partying. It is about her. It's not about anybody else. It's about her and her struggles. So I didn't take that personally because I had a basic understanding that she wasn't talking about me. Taylor Swift has no idea who I am. Of course, she's talking about herself. And to be honest, it reminded me once again that I'm not alone. I'm not by myself. Other people have body image issues, even if they're thin. It's a thing that happens. And there's comfort in knowing that other people have dealt with similar issues to you. It's why the Me Too movement moved so swiftly, was that people related to it. It's why things like Post Secret existed, where you used to write a secret on a postcard and mail it, and they would post it on their website, and they had books. I don't know if they're still out there, but people would go to that website every Sunday for Sunday secrets, and they would see secrets that they could see in themselves or their own secrets out there, because we have very similar experiences, but we tend to feel shame and hide away from those things. So Taylor putting this in a music video for me was a little reminder of like, oh yeah, hey, everyone kind of deals with that. You're not alone in your struggles. So stop thinking that you're alone and stop internalizing that. That's what I got out of the music video, because they are coming hard at Taylor Swift. They are hot on that video camera on the TikTok. They are firing away on their keyboard. For Twitter, they are all out and all in to tear down Taylor Swift because of this one scene in her music video where she steps on a scale and it goes all the way up and reads fat, and then clearly the other internal Taylor is like, no, that's not acceptable. They are losing their minds. Because clearly this means Taylor is fatphobic. How dare she share her own experiences?
Hey Taylor Swift, what the fuck, dude? Being fat is not a bad thing, and in 5 seconds of your music video, you have successfully reinforced the idea that it is.
And you know, honestly, my first thought when I started seeing these things were maybe this is why people don't want to be allies with you. And I don't know how to make that nice. I feel like I just had to bluntly put that out there. Like, maybe you seething with anger at every opportunity is the reason people don't like you. Fat acceptance was so quick to take Taylor Swift's personal experience and make it about themselves. I mean, they're just straight up seething with rage about how they are offended by her experience. And I mean, a whole bunch of them got real fragile, becoming angry and defensive right off the bat, which is textbook 101 fragility. Yep, I'm gonna use your talking points against you. Like, this is why people don't want to join your movement, because everything you say you're for, you then turn around and you're the toxic element that you think you're trying to fight against. Like, that's why people don't want to join your movement. What we're witnessing right now with these TikToks, these tweets, is the fragility of the fat acceptance movement, not accepting that other people have different experiences than them. And when they use this language and they get really angry, they think they're accomplishing something when really all they're doing is pushing people further away from supporting them and supporting their movement. You can't be so toxic and expect people to just willingly embrace you. Like, that just isn't how it works in any movement. And I just want to add, with a lot of movements, social movements like this, there is the element of asking people to fight their implicit bias, to fight their internal fat phobia. And we do that by asking allies to not be perfect, to continue to try, to say sorry when they do something wrong and then just move along. But instead of allowing room for growth for that to happen, we've now just flown off the handle. Once again, we've seen a thin person come out and say, I am also having body image issues. And instead of taking that as like a, wow, maybe I don't fully agree with the way she did it, but the underlying message is that she is also struggling with these same issues. How do we align? How do we fix this societal problem? We've gone and done what we always do, which is dig in our heels and scream at everyone, because they'd rather dig in and create this space where they are all by themselves and no one is helping them or fighting for them, when that simply isn't true. You're just not opening the door for people to be a part of your movement ever, including an artist like Taylor Swift, who is known for being empathetic, gentle, and generous. Like, this could have been a really big win, again, for getting someone into your movement and getting someone to understand you and getting someone to be empathetic, and instead, you just slammed the door repeatedly on her face. Like, why would she ever want to do better or be a part of your movement if you're going to be so toxic about her experience? And as always, there's an element that's not even angry for themselves, they're angry for the youth. What about the youth? Oh my gosh, the youth. How could Taylor Swift put this scene in a music video? Because now everyone who's a kid is going to look at this and think, oh my gosh, I need to have an eating disorder. And this again baffles me. Like, this line of thinking, and I've seen it all over Twitter and all over the YouTube comments, that we're so concerned. She betrayed young people. She's opening the door for them to have eating disorders. But like, if you watch the scene, it's very clear that she's uncomfortable. She has a secondary version of herself watching over her, watching her step on the scale, shaking her head no, where the Taylor on the scale is visibly sad about it. And the internal critic is like, no, no, no. She's very clearly saying that this is a negative thing that has happened to her. She's literally showing it as a negative thing, as a bad thing about herself, as some parts of the internal of her psyche are leading her down bad paths, including eating disorders. I don't understand why people are so dense that they're missing that point. Like, are you trying to be purposefully obtuse? Because I don't know how you could miss that in the video. She's definitely not celebrating it. It's not seen as a good thing that she has an eating disorder. Like, where are you getting this from? Honestly, the artistic part of it for me, the way I interpreted it, was her showing that we are our own worst critics. It's a version of herself looking at herself with disdain and judging her and saying, like, no, you shouldn't look like this. Like, literally, that's the thing that came to me, was like, oh, okay, this is her internal critic. So these are parts of herself that she doesn't like for whatever reason, and we can clearly see that she's thin, so why would she think she's fat? Right? There's a nuance to it. It's not just, oh, well, Taylor Swift has an eating disorder and now she's promoting eating disorders to other young people. Like, what? Does that just go right over your head? Like, what? I don't understand. Like, she's openly talking about how this is her internal critic, saying over and over again, hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Like, I don't understand how we're making this song about anybody else when Taylor is being very clear that the song is about Taylor. And then there's this other element that's like, Taylor is saying that it's her worst nightmare to look like me.
Why? Why did Taylor Swift need to use that word to describe her deepest insecurity and deepest fear? How does she think her fans who are in larger bodies feel when they see that one of her biggest fears is being like them?
And I'm just like, in what universe did Taylor say that being fat was a nightmare? She did not. The song is not about nightmares. The album is not about nightmares. And I guess you could say you're trying to infer that from the fact that she talks about waking up and screaming. Maybe that you think is like she's waking up from a nightmare because she doesn't want to be fat. But again, I think you're missing the mark. Because when she talks about waking up and screaming, she's also talking about the person or people walking away from her and how her life will be worth nothing. And to me, I read that as like, if I wake up screaming because sometimes I think my fans are just going to be over me and my fame is going to be gone in a minute. And when she's talking about this internal part of her brain, she's talking about how she built up fame. She took on sacrifices and did things to become as famous as she is. She made those choices, which is why she repeatedly says, I'm the problem. I made these choices. I wanted to do this thing. I'm my own worst critic. I don't want to lose my fans because then the sacrifices will have been in vain. Like, I think artistically, when you look at her lyrics in context, that makes more sense. And so to hear someone say, well, Taylor said that it would be a nightmare for her to look like me. Again, I'm just like, where are you getting that from? Except from in your own brain. Because she didn't say that. It's almost like when you're in an argument with someone that you love. So I'll use my husband as an example. If my husband is like, hey, I don't like that top on you, kind of makes you, look this way. Sometimes if I'm not in a great headspace, my brain is like, oh my God, he thinks I'm fat. He thinks I'm disgusting. He hates the fact that he married me. And my brain will just rapidly spiral out of control over things that he never said. My brain is just like, well, I'm reading between the lines. This must be what he's saying, even though he never actually said that. And I don't get to infer and put words in his brain that maybe he never thinks. Like, that's not fair. And here Fat Acceptance is doing that to Taylor Swift. They're like, well, she stepped on a scale and thought that she was fat, and clearly she thinks that's disgusting. So of course she thinks I'm disgusting. And like that never happened. You're putting two things together that don't go together. And it's because your brain is torturing you. Taylor Swift is not torturing you. Your brain is torturing you. I also love the lyrics, I'll stare directly at the sun, but never look in the mirror. Because I think that's what Fat Acceptance needs, is a long, hard look in the mirror. They need to realize that they are being problematic and they're being toxic and they're not stopping and taking a moment to just think about what they're doing. Because maybe, just maybe, they're taking it a little too far. Because picking on people who have eating disorders that they cannot control is not the way. And yelling at them for being fatphobic isn't helping anyone. It doesn't give anyone any solutions to the problem. It doesn't tell anyone how to be a better person. It just creates division. And I also find it interesting that so many fat acceptance folks are coming out with these same viewpoints, because we've heard a lot of fat acceptance folks say that they failed diet culture. They failed this or they failed that. But it's almost as if they don't want to acknowledge that for them, they didn't grow up fat. So clearly an eating disorder on one spectrum or the other led them to where they are, sort of like it did for me. And so I just wish that they could take a moment to just pause and think outside of themselves, because this weird circular logic that they're all caught up in is bound to hurt nobody but them. As for Taylor, I say this not as a Swiftie. I'm a casual music listener to most genres. I would never say I'm a diehard fan of a musician. It's just, I find songs catchy and that's that. I think the album is good and it's catchy and it's going to be popular, just like Taylor is good at doing. And I think it's incredibly brave of her to be so vulnerable over and over again in her albums and with her fans, especially in a male-dominated industry, which, again, might be leading to some of the issues that she has, right? Because typically the male-dominated industry is where we're hearing that women need to lose weight for roles and lots of actresses are coming out. And we're seeing those things start to change. But again, she's being vulnerable and open. And to have other women who claim to be feminists coming out to tear her down so quickly and so rapidly and so viciously, might I add, I think it does nothing to help anyone. And I'll just leave it at that. So I'm curious to know what you think about Taylor Swift's new album, what you think about all this mess. Please leave your opinions and thoughts in the comment section for me below. Thank you so much for watching today. I will see you in the next one. Bye.